Hello, my name is Cara Caputo, and I'm a second-year fellow in the Winterthur Program of American Material Culture, and I'm excited to share a preview of my presentation for the upcoming Emerging Scholars event. My project is entitled Accessories of Assault: Material Traces of America's So-Called Hatpin Panic. The hatpin panic spread across America during the early 20th century, as women began to utilize their hatpins as defensive weapons against instances of harassment. As men reported their injuries and some pedestrians were accidentally injured by the exposed point of hatpins, panic broke out around America regarding these dangerous weapons. The hatpin's surprising legacy as a gendered weapon not only reveals just how prevalent the hatpin panic was during this time, but it also demonstrates the ongoing tension between women's agency and men's attempts to repress it. Referred to as mashers throughout early 20th century newspapers, men frequently accosted and assaulted unaccompanied women as they traveled through America's cities, revealing the challenges faced by women as a result of their increased independence. These instances of harassment and assault often took place in public streetcars and buses, as shown in this 1902 article published in New York's The Evening World. In response, women began to employ their ever-present hatpins as weapons, easily pulling them from their elaborate hairstyles and wielding their pins in self-defense. This article from 1903 details the first use of a hatpin attack that received substantial coverage and publicity. Leotie Blaker was on a trip to New York City in 1903 when a man began inching closer to her on a stagecoach and eventually draped his arm around her. She responded by reaching up and drawing the hatpin from her hat and, quote, ran that hatpin into him with all the force that she possessed, end quote. This report lauded Blaker as a hero and role model for young women in the constant battle against mashers. As reports of these incidences made national headlines, men expressed fear of these, quote, slender blades, and the use of hatpins became a cause for panic nationwide. Referring to the accessory as the homicidal hatpin, one man wrote to the San Francisco Call in 1904, proclaiming that hatpins, quote, must be retained. Unless women look to this matter, mere men will have to intervene, end quote. Male legislators across the nation soon took action and implemented restrictions on the length of hatpins. Michigan's 1914 hatpin law, which is shown here, threatened a $500 fine and jail time if women wore hatpins longer than 10 inches in length. A large portion of my research also involved tracking the implications of these hatpin regulations through patent records. The number of patents issued for hatpin guards or point protectors, the use of which were required by law in most American cities during this time, rose from just 91 patents between the years of 1900 and 1910, when attacks were first being recorded, to over 400 patents between the years of 1910 and 1920, which was the height of the hatpin panic. Within the mechanical jargon of these patents, the inventor has to provide a justification or reason why this invention would be beneficial. Most of the inventors, with the exception of two, were male. Their justifications include statements such as the one written in this patent for a point protector that was submitted by a Chicago resident in 1912. He wrote that, quote, hatpins are dangerous articles at all times, end quote. As hatpins were exclusively a women's accessory, this quote indirectly describes women as dangerous when equipped with a hatpin, prompting concrete oppressive action to suppress this. The production and marketing of compliant, shorter hatpins also greatly increased. For instance, these two hatpins are part of the collections of Milwaukee's Chudnow Museum. The hatpin on the right of the image measures 4.75 inches in length, just a quarter inch shy of exceeding the 5-inch legal limit of Milwaukee's 1913 hatpin law. By contrast, the hatpin on the left measures 10 inches in length and was most likely created prior to hatpin regulations. In my full presentation, I will discuss in more depth the material traces of the hatpin panic, how women responded and fought back against these regulations, and the eventual decline of the hatpin as a ubiquitous accessory, which effectively put an end to this period of American history. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoyed this preview of my presentation on America's hatpin panic. Thank you.